Hi, you're watching Sealclops book reviews. I am reviewing today The Monster's Wife, written by Jillian West. This is a standalone book that is also sort of part of her larger world. I reviewed her previous book, The Monster's Den, recently, and this is from the same universe. Enjoy! The Monster's Wife, written by Jillian West. So first up, there's quite a few genres mixed into this standalone book. So the main genres are reverse harem, paranormal, omegaverse, monsters, and romance, as well as, fantasy and so on. How does the book compare with other books in the genre? So as a typical monster romance with a minimalistic plot, I found this to be an enjoyable read. The paranormal was touched on via the female main character's powers, and the fact that each man in the harem was a different monster allowed more insight into the different species. And how does it match up to your expectations of that genre? So having already read The Monster's Den, I had an idea of what this story would be like. My hunch was right. However, I prefer this book to the other as it had a bit more of a storyline. The summary. So the picturesque town of Haven may offer sanctuary for all, but the irony is getting harder to monsters are vanishing. Aline knows better than to meddle. The runaway princess of Fairy, I sort of said it different ways, learn the hard way what happens when others see what her magic can do. No, it's far better to focus on our own problems like running the Monster's Den and staying off the Paranormal Council's radar. Tragedy strikes Haven as things finally start to come together for the lonely Fae, and Adeline has no choice but to intervene. The blows keep coming when the Paranormal Council initiates a full-scale inquiry into why monsters vanish from Haven. It seems her house of cards is about to tumble. Can she trust the ghosts of her past and the unhinged monsters desperate to be part of her future to help keep her safe? Will they even want to when they see what she's capable of? Apologise for the puffing and panting, I have a blocked nose. Okay, so a bit about the plot and the theme. So Aline is on the run from her old life as a princess in Fairy. After using her magic to save her sister's life, she is forced to escape to the human world in order to survive, leaving both of her new husbands behind. Yes, both meaning two. She has since made a life for herself in Haven, helping to run the den for the past few years. She has even let herself form an attachment with a large half-orc, half-giant who seems to be always watching her back. But he can't watch her back while she sleeps. Nightmares plague her dreams, and with them, a mysterious stranger. He seems to have an agreement with the orc. When she sleeps, she is all his to protect. But when Aline's friend is mortally injured, she must risk her own life to save her friends and the unborn child she carries, allowing her husbands to track her down. Can old wounds be healed? What do her husbands want from her after all this time? And will Aline ever be able to live her life without fear of the Fairy Council? So pacing, emotion, ending, and plot holes. So I flew through this book. It is one of those that you can just sit down and read in one go. It progressed along nicely without feeling too rushed or slow. The beginning of the book is a bit heavy of the angst, but once you push through that, it has a pleasant feel. Similar to the other book in this universe, the big fight scene took place in a single chapter and was a bit anticlimactic. It did the job to wrap up the story nicely, but could have been both elaborated on and handled differently. So the end of the book wraps up with an epilogue from each of the main men, resulting in one big happily ever after. And a little bit about the main characters. So there's Aline, so tall, willowy with pink blonde hair, shunned by her people. Her magic is seen as a curse, unable to have children from her magic's backlash, and running from the fairy world. I can't say it. Atlas. He is half orc, half giant, a lighter shade of green than others of his species, over 8 feet tall, so he's quite massive. Was the leader of the High Horde of Fairy, and loved Aline from afar for years. Then we have Malice. He is a nightmare demon. He broke out of hell, He is primarily made up of black shadows, met Aileen through her nightmares, and feeds on fear and misery. So what he actually did was he fed off of her fears and took them away from her, which was pretty cool. Then we have Silence, a powerful soothsayer, a Sealy spring prince, covered in black tattoo ruins on 90% of his body. They say it's from his neck down. Can read memories and look into the past. He can also tell if people are lying, so a lot of people are hesitant to be near him because like, oh, get out of my head sort of thing. And then we have Hex. He is half Fae, half Kraken. A Sealy summer prince. So there's the 4 kingdoms, the summer, spring, autumn, winter. Can shift into a large creature with a humanoid torso and a tentacled lower body, and has to lay eggs in mate to procreate. That one was a bit out there, but it worked for the story. Just don't think about it too much. So the recommendation. If you're in the mood for a more romance-based read rather than a plot-driven story, then this book may be for you. This book had more of a plot than The Monster's Den, which is part of the same universe, and I personally preferred this story. That does not mean that it was not heavy on the sex scene, so it was. If you're a fan of reverse harem and or monsters with your romance, then I would recommend giving this book a go. And my review, I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5, so this is good if you're in the mood for multiple monster love interests with some story to tie it all together. It was an interesting read, definitely better than the first, and you don't have to read them both for it to make sense, but it does overlap slightly, so it is beneficial. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed my review on The Monster's Wife. Let me know what you think. Bye.